Welcome back to the channel. Got another good set of albums here for you that were released this last week. Debut of Rush. No better way to start this one out. Reaching all the way back to March 1st, 1974. And if you know me, Rush is one of my all-time favorite bands. You know, when they released this album, it was released, like I said, on March 1st, 74, but it was released on Moon Records. You know, it was later picked up by Mercury Records. But the original release is very different from anything Rush has done. In fact, I kind of put it in a category all by itself. And going down that road, I put Rush in a few different little categories. You know, they had the first album, like I said. They had everything from Fly By Night through, let's say, Farewell to Kings, Hemispheres. That section was the last section of that prog rock era, I think. They moved into more of a different type of prog, where they got really keyboard oriented in the 80s. That's a story for another time, though. Getting back to this album, you know, you're talking about a band that just broke right out of Canada and, you know, years later became the biggest prog rock band ever, in my opinion. Great track listing. In my opinion, this album is, from beginning to end, every track is great. Finding My Way, Need Some Love, Take a Friend, Here Again, What You're Doing, In the Mood, Before and After, and Working Man. And with any Rush album, and so many albums that I speak about on this channel, it's so hard to pick a favorite song. But you know, Working Man has always been one of my favorites. Not only because of, in the early days, that's where the drum solo was always at, but the jam that is in the middle of that song, it's very Who influenced. If you listen to a lot of Who songs, where it sounds, in my opinion, like all three of the musicians are doing something completely different. Bass player's out on his own, drummer's out on his own, guitar player's out on his own, and yet the whole thing comes together perfectly. That's what the jam in the middle of Working Man sounds like to me. The whole album is very, very bluesy, Zeppelin-ish, Who-ish, you know. And like I said, completely different from anything else they've done forward. So picking a favorite track, I'm going to go with Working Man. What a great album, though. Recorded back in '73 at Eastern Sound Studios and Toronto Sound Studios. 39:51 is what the album comes in timing-wise. Released March 1st, 1974, the debut album of Rush. Let's move on to a completely different. Now for something completely different, as Monty Python would say. Krokus, One Vice at a Time. And even though this was their sixth album, it was released March 1st, 1982, I strongly believe this is the album that gave them their start. They really weren't doing much up until this point, but when this album broke, it was a 80s favorite. They even got some MTV airplay, and you know, being able to get Bruce Dickinson, who sang backing vocals on one of the tracks, I'm on the Run, I believe. You know, and at that time, Iron Maiden was on the top of the world, you know. But that kind of helped as well. But this was the album that broke them. I mean, not only did they do a great cover of American Woman, from the Guess Who. But, well, let's go down the track list. Long Stick Goes Booms, Bad Boys Ragdolls, Playing the Outlaw, To the Top, Down the Drain, American Woman, I'm on the Run, Save Me, Rock and Roll. Picking a favorite song off this album for me is a no-brainer. Long Stick Goes Boom. The album is very, very AC/DC influenced, if you will, and that song really, really shows it. A lot of great tracks, and To the Top's a great track, but Long Stick Goes Boom really, really stuck out for me. Recorded at Battery Studios in London, 36 minutes 14 seconds long, released March 1st, 1982. Great album. If you don't have it, go get it. Moving on, and once again, if you know me, Dream Theater is one of my all-time favorite bands. I've been listening to them since day one, and this was it. The debut album from Dream Theater, When Dream and Day Unite. Kind of a strange cover. The artwork, I don't know what the deal with that was, but kind of strange. The band's been through a lot of lineup changes, but this was the first album that James LaBrie came in on vocals. Before they had released any albums, they had different singers, and James LaBrie just came in and really, really conquered what they needed. I mean, if you listen to any progressive band, especially a progressive metal band like Dream Theater, try and think to yourself how hard it would be to put a melody and lyrics and sing along to what's going on music-wise. That's a hard task, and I think they picked the right singer to do that. It's a hard thing to do. So going down the track listing of Fortune and Lies, Status Seeker, Yitzy Jam, which, by the way, in case you don't know, is just Majesty spelled backwards, which was the original name of the band, Majesty. The Killing Hand, Light Fuse and Get Away, Afterlife, The Ones Who Help to Set the Sun, and Only a Matter of Time. This is a hard one to pick a favorite track off of. I mean, Yitzy Jam is awesome because it's an instrumental. The Killing Hand because it's their first quote-unquote epic song, if you will. But I guess I'll go with Yitzy Jam. Why not? It's a crowd favorite, and they still play parts of it to this day. Great song. Recorded July through August of 1988 and released March 6, 1989. It was recorded at Victory Studios in Pennsylvania. 51 minutes and 25 seconds. The album was originally released under the Mechanic label before they were later picked up by MCA Records. It's great album, man. What a great first effort from prog metal band Dream Theater. Alright, the debut studio album from Disturbed, The Sickness. It's kind of a weird pick for me. I'm not a huge Disturbed fan, but I do like them. They do some great stuff, and this album, in my opinion, is really what got them noticed. I mean, going down the track list: Voices, The Game, Stupefy, Down with the Sickness, Violence Fetish, Fear, Numb, Want, Conflict, Shout 2000, which is a Tears for Fears cover of Shout, Dropping Plates, and Meaning of Life. You'll notice a lot of their songs are just one-word titles. You know, Down with the Sickness for me it's a no-brainer to pick that as the favorite track. But Stupefy, I mean, you know, and Shout 2000, Dropping Plates, lots of great tracks on this album. But Down with the Sickness, you know, got to go with that one. Recorded in November 1999, 47 minutes, 18 seconds long. Released on March 7th, 2000. And it's hard to believe that was 21 years ago, huh? The Sickness from Disturbed. All right, switching gears and going in a totally different direction again. David Bowie, Young Americans, March 7th, 1975. The 9th studio album from David Bowie. Lots of good tracks on this album, you know. Of course, Young Americans, Win, Fascination, Right, Somebody Up There Likes Me, Across the Universe, you know, which is a Beatles cover. Can You Hear Me, and Fame. For me, this is a no-brainer as well. Fame is definitely my favorite track off the album. I mean, lots of great songs, but Fame is just, oh my goodness, one of the best Bowie songs of all time, and really, really nails it. Just in so many different ways. Album was recorded in August through January, so it's like a 6-month recording time. Released March 7th, 1975, but recorded August 74 through January 75. That's crazy. Took them a long time to get this album done. It's so many different studios they did this at. They did it in Philadelphia, did it in Los Angeles, New York City. 40 minutes, 13 seconds under the RCA label. Great album from Bowie. All right. 6th and final album today. The debut album from Foreigner. And this, to me, is a perfect album. From beginning to end, every song on it is great. I love this album since the day it came out. I was lucky enough to see them on this tour. What a great band. Released March 8th, 1977. This one was recorded in November 1976 at the Hit Factory, and then they did some as well at Atlantic Recording Studios in New York. 38 minutes, 46 seconds long under the Atlantic label. Of course, Mick Jones had his hand in producing it, along with Ian MacDonald, who, in case you don't know, was the bass player for King Crimson, who ended up being a bass player in Foreigner. What a great player, phenomenal writer, phenomenal producer, just an all-around great guy and musician. Going down the track listing, Feels Like the First Time, Cold as Ice, Star Rider, Head Knocker, The Damage Is Done, Long, Long Way From Home, Woman Oh Woman, At War with the World, Fool For You Anyway, and I Need You. And this is another one of those albums it's almost impossible to pick a favorite off of. I mean, Star Rider is such a great, great song. Very proggish. Cold as Ice, Feels Like the First Time. Man, it's hard to do. I guess, wow, between those three, it's pretty impossible. As you can see, I do this unscripted and I don't have everything decided up front. I like to do it as I'm making the video. You know, we're not making a TV show, we're not making a radio show. I'm just here unscripted and having a good time, you know. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say Feels Like the First Time, I guess. And I think the only reason I'm going to say that is I had a bar band that I played in back in the 90s, and we did that song, and it was really, really fun playing that song. So I'll pick that as my favorite track. Debut album from Foreigner, March 8th, 1977. wrapping it up for the day. 6 great albums: Rush, Foreigner, Disturbed, Dream Theater, Bowie, and Krokus. All great albums. Hey, thanks for hanging out with me again today. Make sure you like the video and please subscribe to the channel. Tell all your friends, share the link, and have a great afternoon. And we'll be seeing you again soon. And until next time, rock on.